Hi everyone, I want to call to order the meeting for the Board of Education. Effingham County Board of Commissioners tonight. It is 5:05. And we'll do a quick roll call, if you will. Commissioner Loper?
Here.
Commissioner Deloach?
Here. Here.
Commissioner Floyd?
Here.
And myself, Commissioner Burnett, I'm here. At this point, no. In lieu of me being not 100%, obviously, I'm going to ask that we do a quick vote for someone to chair the meeting tonight and fill in as acting chairman unless it's absent. Usually that's me and the vice chairman. Just had some surgery, and I'll entertain a motion that would ask that we vote on Commissioner Deloach to chair the meeting tonight. Do that.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And that carries.
Good, thank you. If everyone will please rise, we'll have the invocation now. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us to gather here this afternoon. Please be with us and help us do your will. And at this time, Lord, please be with our local, state, and world leaders. And in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag, which is not flag.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That would be the Georgia flag.
That is the Georgia
Oh.
flag.
Yeah, that is the flag.
Must have been moved for something.
Somebody borrowed it, put it back. Chris? Yes, I'm ready. Join my office. Come in my office.
Okay, once again, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, everyone, we have the agenda before you. We need to get an agenda approval. Is there any changes that we need to note at this time on the agenda?
No changes.
Okay, no changes. If I could get a motion for the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda, second.
All right, a motion by Commissioner Loper and a second by Commissioner Kiefer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. We now have an agenda. Moving on, our minutes from the last meeting. Are there any changes or questions or concerns from anyone? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second.
Have a motion for Commissioner Floyd to approve the minutes and a second by Commissioner Burdett. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. I'd like to remind everyone to keep your public comments to the agenda items only. Documents from this meeting are located in the clerk's office and on the Board of Commissioners website. We're now moving on to our consent agenda. 2021-462 purchase. Consideration to approve ratification of the emergency approval for a replacement pump at the Hodgesville lift station. That is the only item on our consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Kiefer, second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to the next section of our agenda, which is old business. This is 2021-463, second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Pine Hill Group LLC / Matthew Bird as agent for Suzanne B. Spivey to rezone 16.95 acres located on Knoll C. Conway Road from AR1 to R3 for a future multifamily residential community map number 3376, parcel number 16 in the 1st District.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Floyd, have a second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to the next section of the agenda, which is new business, item number 1, consideration to approve the reorganization of positions in the clerk of court's office in addition of another position.
Good evening, Vicki Dunn, HR Director. Yes, sir, we're requesting authorization to reorganize the positions in the clerk of court's office. What we're asking for is we want to defund 2 of the deputy clerk positions and create a full-time position for an accounting technician. Due to the increase in the monies that run through that office, someone with accounting experience is needed in the office. And Mr. Bragg is also here if you have questions for him.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dunn. Are there any questions or concerns from the board for Ms. Dunn? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve. Okay, order number 1.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner Floyd. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on to new business item number 2, consideration to approve to amend section 2.12 conflict resolution / grievance process of the Human Resources Standards of Practice.
Yes, sir, we're requesting to amend the current HR standards of practice conflict resolution grievance process to provide a process that will allow department heads to voice their concerns should they have a grievance or conflict with the county manager. This is necessary because we moved from the county commissioners to the county administrator to a county manager position. And the county manager has the day-to-day supervision of the department heads.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You talked about the liaison officer. We don't have any.
I'm sorry, Mr. Loper?
Liaison commissioners, we don't have any.
No, sir.
At one time, every department in Effingham County had somebody they could come to, the liaison commissioner. I mean, sometimes they didn't want nothing, but they had somebody to come to. But you talk about it in here, but we don't have one.
Okay.
So what are we gonna do?
It was my understanding that the way the process would go is that the grievance or conflict would be first reported to Chairman Corbett, who would then give it to me to review and do the investigation and give him the response back. He would also notify y'all of what's going on. We don't have the liaison, and I can take that word out of the policy. I just overlooked that. I think because at this point, I think all of y'all have the same overall responsibility to the departments.
But I don't think the chairman ought to be to hear all this stuff himself. And whether he tells us, that's a different. So, and that's the reason I tabled this the last time we had it.
Okay. I missed last time. I wasn't here.
But
So.
I tabled on that account because everything was with the chairman.
Yes,
And I
sir.
don't go along with that.
But when you say everything with the chairman, Mr. Loper, I'm not, because as far as,
The chairman is on all these. You got a liaison, but you don't take that off.
correct.
So you won't have that person.
No, sir.
So everything will be left up to the chairman because you just told me that.
No, sir. What'll happen is the grievance will be reported initially to the chairman, who will then let y'all know what's going on, then give it back to the HR department. Depending on what type of grievance it is, then we would get in touch with the county attorney if needed, or,
Yeah, I understand.
okay.
Some of that is that way, but all
Yes,
of
sir.
it's not.
Mhm.
In fact, I'll tell you one and I'll shut up.
Okay.
Could we replace Board of Commissioners with the liaison?
Absolutely. Whatever.
One
But,
time, all the commissions had about 6 people in the county, and I got a list of all of them here. And you could pick them up, they would, somebody would give them to you, it didn't matter. You know, and you was on 5 or 6 different boards because you only had 5 commissioners or 6 commissioners.
mhm.
And we got 25 or 30 departments.
Yes, sir.
All right, let me ask you one question.
Okay, sir?
On this one thing, it says, the decision of the county manager and the liaison commissioner is final.
Yes, sir?
Okay, and that is in case you send them a letter that people you talked about, they get a letter, and if they don't send it back, then it is final. But how about if they send you the letter back and want to go before the commissioners? I mean, at some point in time in this, employee is not going to be able to come before the commissioners. And I want to know if this is one of them. And that's not right if it's not.
Yes, sir, I agree. I understand what you're saying. This would not prevent someone from wanting to continue the grievance. However, what it says, the decision of the county manager, and it should say Board of Commissioners is final. So that would mean that at that point, once it got to that point, y'all had already heard everything and had made your decision. So it wouldn't prevent y'all from hearing.
But that is not what that says.
What section, where are you at?
Step 2. Step 2, C.
Now,
That one sentence, so if we took out, then if we made it say the decision of the county manager and the Board of Commissioners is final instead of liaison commissioner,
yes, that would be fine.
that would be fine?
That
Okay,
would be fine.
okay. That's an easy fix.
Okay.
So I will bring this back to y'all then at the next
Amendment.
meeting? Or go ahead and make a change
Make a
now?
motion with the noted change.
Well, yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes, sir?
So when you put a slash, or like in step 1, last sentence, county manager / human resources department, is that intended to be and or what is that meant to be? Like, the employer may present the grievance directly to the county manager and human resources
It's
department?
and, no, it's and.
I think maybe we should spell that out.
Okay.
So we know for sure. In step 1, I'd like to see if we have anything to do with sexual harassment, safety, or discrimination, that human resources is involved in with that. So
Yes, sir.
Not the department heads can't have it, but a lot of the stuff, human resources should be overlooking, in my opinion, if it's something to that depth. You
Yes, sir.
know,
Those-
some areas, because it's got, in step 1, it doesn't really list where they have to involve you. And you have all that knowledge, and I think, if it's something just a little full, it's one thing. If it's something to do with sexual harassment, safety issues, or discrimination, and it's a higher level that needs to involve HR.
Yes, sir. And those are, excuse me, those are actually separate policies, Commissioner Burdette, and the grievance procedures are covered in those separate policies.
So that's covered in a different area.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
The, if you replace that, that's going to take care of the other thing. That's the main thing, to make sure that we got that level of expertise in
Yes, sir.
those areas.
Yes, sir.
With all that, I'll make a motion to approve order number 1.
Thank you, sir,
With all the changes.
with the changes. Okay.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve with the noted changes. Have a motion by Commissioner Loper, a second by Commissioner Kiefer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hudson. Moving on to item number 3 of new business. Consideration to approve purchase order 22-25-002 for the purchase of a new crawler dozer from Yancey Brothers.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Allison Bruton, purchasing agent. We posted a request for quotes for the purchase of a crawler dozer for Public Works. Staff requested pricing for a base unit as well as trade-in values for 2 dozers that are currently owned by the county. We did receive 2 submittals for this, one from Yancey Brothers and one from Flint Equipment. The full tabulations in your packets. Yancey Brothers was the lower bidder with a base price of $147,800 with a total trade-in value of $20,310 for a final total of $127,490. The staff recommends alternative 1. Any questions?
Any questions from Ms. Ruth?
Make a motion to approve all number 1.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Kiefer to approve alternative 1, and a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 4 of new business. Consideration to approve purchase order number 22-25-004 for the purchase of a compact track loader from Low Country JCB.
Yes, sir. So staff requested pricing for a base unit as well as 9 additional attachments. 4 submittals were received for this. Again, the full tabulation is in your packets. Bobcat did have the lowest base unit pricing for the equipment, and they notated that their mulcher included an apps kit. Flint equipment had 3 differences in their attachments, one of which was a 90-inch hydraulic soil conditioner as opposed to the requested 84-inch. But the overall low bidder for this equipment and all of the attachments was Low Country JCB. The original budget for this item was $50,000. However, the crawler dozer and excavator were under budget, so that's enough to cover the overage.
Okay, any questions, concerns? I'll go against the grain here, and I will say that looking at the overall bids, Flint is within $700 of the next bid in place. I know we have some equipment from Flint, had a good experience with that. Parts are not an issue, smooth process, so in my opinion, I would lean more towards the Flint machine for less than $700 difference on overall pricing. That's just my 2 cents.
What brand is that?
That's John Deere.
That's the John Deere.
Yeah, sorry.
Only difference I can see with that, which is the lunches, Low Country looks like they have one in stock. The other one's 120 days out.
Is that? Yeah.
This is the same thing.
Yeah. I have made a couple calls also to some heavy equipment operators, and their opinion was to stick with Cat or John Deere, just because of parts, inventories, and just the service.
If we were in a situation where it was code red, we had to have it next week or something, it might really come into play, but I'm
Some like that.
not.
A lot of things were ordered these days, it'd be here in 3 months, but in reality it's 6.
That's right.
I'm fine with it. You guys wisdom on that?
Any other questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay. So, did you make a motion?
No, I didn't make a motion.
I'll make a motion we approve alternative 2, approve the equipment.
Commissioner Floyd has made a motion to approve alternative 2 to go with John Deere Flint equipment. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries for option 2, Flint John Deere equipment.
Commissioner Delich, we do have somebody here. I'm not sure if they're able to speak or not, or.
On this item that we just approved. And you've already approved it, but that's up to you.
Sure, if somebody wants to speak.
My name is Clint Holcomb. I work with Low Country JCB. Appreciate y'all letting me say a few words. I'm the general manager of Parts and Service. I have a good relationship with some of the local municipalities, the city of Rankin being one of them. They primarily run JCB compact equipment, mid-range equipment. Georgia DOT runs primarily JCB compact equipment. Parts and Service is not an issue. I was born and raised here. I can proudly say that we are the industry leader in parts and service availability. Several JCB OEM parts warehouses in mainland United States. The skid steer is built in Pooler, Georgia by people that live and work in Effingham County. So the products made here, parts and services, right in Pooler, Georgia. So the capability to serve the county would not be an issue. So I would ask that you would reconsider, and if you needed references from those municipalities, City of Vidalia, City of Savannah, Georgia DOT, City of Rankin, City of Tybee, depend on Low Country JCB for their equipment and their parts and service. So I would like for you to reconsider. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have already got a motion and a second and a vote, so that will stand on record. We will be moving on to item number 5. Consideration to approve purchase order number 22-25-003 for the purchase of a new mid-size excavator for Low Country JCB. Ms. Allison.
Yes, sir. So staff requested again pricing for a base unit as well as trade-in values for the 2 excavators currently owned by the county. Yancey Brothers had the lowest base price of $203,602 with the trade-in value of $49,550 for a total of $154,052, and they have the equipment in stock. Low Country JCB had a base unit price of $224,029 with a trade-in value total of $77,500 for a final total of $146,529, which makes them the overall low bidder, and the equipment would require 60 days for delivery from the receipt of the order. Do you have any questions?
Any questions, concerns? I guess I'll just say that previously we're trading in some 1980 CAT equipment, some 1990 CAT equipment. We've got a lot of old CAT equipment on the yard that still runs. My recommendation would be to go with Caterpillar excavator. It's within $8,000. No, it's not the cheapest, but I think with our relationship with the CAT machine and over time it's been dependable. Not the JCB is not, but I think that I would lean more towards the CAT option myself.
These two pieces that we're trading in is a 2000 and 2006.
Well, I'm talking about
Okay.
Unless we've got some data showing we're not, the JCB stuff is unreliable. I can't see like 700 acre tons of one thing, we're getting the thousands. And I give somebody a chance is right locally. You know, maybe we should stick to the recommendation on this.
I just made, like I said, I made some phone calls, and the advice from people in the business was to the Caterpillar is the better piece of equipment, and they would spend more money for a Cat. That was their trouble. I did see also there's a 12-month long warranty on the Yancey equipment as well. I don't know what kind of hours we're putting on this equipment. But I understand your concerns as well.
Any other questions, comments from the board?
Says the ground, a lot of overlooked.
Yeah, that's what we got.
$9,000 to do.
Everybody's got their preferred piece of equipment. Some people like Ford trucks, some people like Chevrolet trucks. And it's really what more alike is what they're asking.
Well, that was the conversation I had, was what they could do.
Yeah,
And how
so
we get that.
we got some data we can rely on here.
That's what they run, and that's what they do day in and day out.
Talk to somebody else. I've never really got this. You hear a lot of that in the industry, right? In trucking and stuff.
All right, any other, no other questions or concerns? I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
I'll second.
All right, got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those nay? Nay.
Negative.
So we got 3-2, so the motion carries to purchase the JCB excavator. All right. Moving on to new business item number 6. Consideration to approve resolution 021-047 for surplus of various items which have been replaced or no longer in use.
Yes, sir. So this resolution consists of the 2 dozers and excavators mentioned previously that would be traded in to offset the cost for those new machines. Staff recommends alternative 1.
Any questions or concerns? I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Make a motion to approve on third report.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Burdette, second by Commissioner Floyd. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on to new business, item number 7. Consideration to approve change order number 1 of the contract with Bond and Company to provide concept design for 2 intersections along Oshville Road.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Eric Larson, Assistant County Manager. You have in your staff report a description of what is being included in this change order. This is a result of some of the action items that came out of our retreat. There was a discussion as we reviewed the draft transportation master plan that additional analysis was needed on 2 of the intersection projects that were listed in the master plan. This includes doing some conceptual design of roundabouts at 2 intersections on Hodgeville Road. And so the proposal you have in front of you is the design fee proposed by Pond, the company, the consultant doing the master plan. It's their design fee to do those 2 conceptual plans. Be happy to answer any questions.
I'm all for it. The price tag was a lot more than what I thought.
Yeah. Design is not cheap. Because
Just give us a total side-by-side comparison to do
yes.
turning lanes only versus doing roundabouts in these areas.
Yes, sir. Yeah, one of the reasons, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We'll be able to tell like how much actual property is involved and what kind of intrusion, if any, there is, and so we can speak more intelligently about these things.
Yes, sir.
Well, it's not going to tell us like traffic, that's already been studied, and that's why this is suggested in the first place.
Yes, sir. This is a geometric design, and the reason you're seeing the cost is because if you think about it, it's 2 intersections, 2 different alternates, it's 4 designs. And so it's 4 designs with looking at property lines and contours, utility locations, because to get to the answers to the questions that you seek from the retreat comments, this is what the level of detail has to be in that design to make that happen.
The part we're looking at here, it will not affect a 3rd lane on Goshen or a turn lane on the other end of Collin County. All that's standing firm as it was.
Yes, yes. And that 3rd lane on Goshen will be taken into consideration with this because that's the terminus of that project.
Yes, sir.
And it's not wasted money, so I don't want anybody to think it's wasted money. This work will move into a detailed design phase once we, breathe one, so.
Do you think this is getting the cart ahead of the horse a little bit or not? Just from staff, I'm just curious.
Well, again, it's
We really needed the data to really see the impact of it. It was a problem, it was a big thing. We really
I just worry because we have these issues all over the county that are,
It's hard to make it even an intelligent conversation about it. We didn't know what it entailed. It would be look like this, and we heard about rumble strips, or so many different things, and we'll be able to answer to those questions, and then tell the constituents what we're doing.
yes, sir. What Mr. Burdette said, I don't have anything else to add to that.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for this time.
Motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Burdette, a second by Commissioner Floyd. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on
Thank
to
you.
new business number 8, consideration to approve an amendment to the Transportation Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax intergovernmental agreement between Effingham County and the cities of Springfield and Guyton.
Yes, sir. Prior to the T-SPOS referendum that passed last November, Effingham County entered to IGAs with all 3 municipalities, Rankin, Springfield, and Guyton. Since its passage, Springfield and Guyton have opted to join the county in bonding some of the funds, but because it wasn't written in the IGA agreement, DOR has been collecting those funds and sending them to the municipalities directly when they need to go to the county so we can pay off the bonds. So it's been kind of holding us
up in distributing all of the funds to Guyton and Springfield. This kind of resolves that issue, and it would be sent to both those municipalities to be passed, and once it is, we can then release the remainder of the funds. Staff is recommending alternative 1.
Any questions or concerns for Tim?
I'll make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Kiefer, a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to new business, item number 9. Consideration to approve resolution number 021-048 to impose a moratorium on R3 multifamily residential district, R6 single-family residential district, and D2 general commercial district, and D3 highway commercial district if the use is proposed for multifamily use for a period of 120 days.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This, again, is a result of the feedback we've received and action items resulting from the retreat. One of the comments that came up, particularly when it came to multifamily housing, which would be R3, or it is a permitted use in B2 and B3, is the lack of a firm guidance with regards to what needs to be included in those particular rezoning requests. And then there's been a general consensus also to include R6 zoning in that. The goal is to look at those particular zoning categories, determine if additional guidance or requirements for changes are required within that 120-day period, and then hopefully have something passed and approved prior to the expiration of that. One other thing I would mention that's associated with this, we are working on reducing the acreage requirements for planned developments, so that within the next couple of weeks, if folks did want something with the higher density that normally would fit into the R3 or R6 zoning, that they had an option to go into. Right now, they have the option to do a PD, but only if they have enough acreage to meet the PD requirement. If we reduce that, then the folks can actually pursue either multifamily or R6 dense zoning that's similar to R6 density, even though there is a moratorium. And this only has to do with rezonings. Anything that's already got its proper zonings can continue or has applied for rezoning prior to, I think it would be this date, is that correct, Lee? Correct. Prior to today, if anyone has put an application in for a rezoning, they would not be included in this. Staff is recommending alternative 1.
Questions or comments for Tim?
Make a motion to approve order number 1.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. I have the time now at 5:38 p.m. Item number 9 was our last item for new business. So our planning board session starts at 6 p.m. So at this time, we'll try to run through our reports from staff.
Yeah, there was a quick issue that I'd like to get feedback on, and if it's not something we want to proceed with tonight, that's fine. We do have some time. The sheriff has reached out to the chairman with regards to Halloween this year. Halloween takes place on a Sunday. The 31st takes place on the Sunday. The sheriff has requested that the county encourage residents to celebrate on Saturday, October 30th. I can say Rinkin has made that announcement similarly, but obviously people can celebrate Halloween whenever they want, but, this would just be making the county recommendation that that the residents celebrate it on the Saturday rather than the Sunday.
Trick or treat ones.
Trick or treating.
Yeah, I had a couple calls asking, do we do that? I know we've done it in the past.
It's really not our decision to make, but it does help law
I just-
enforcement when we try to, so they can be prepared.
All we can do is encourage it, I guess. I mean, like I said, kids are gonna show up when they show up.
And you say Rankin is already,
Rankin, I saw online that they had made that announcement already.
It's kind of a generally accepted thing anyway. If it falls on a Sunday, they always figure 3 hours ahead of that.
Right.
It's one less Georgia game.
Well, there is, the only, it might interfere with football, and it also might interfere with homecoming for one of the high schools, but the homecoming dance, but
If there's
it is what it is.
trick or treating in high school,
That's kind of,
you don't go anymore?
But the sheriff has asked,
the sheriff has made that request, and
I
so,
think too, every year he touches base on that.
Maybe Springfield go along with it too.
that's right.
And Reagan's big Saturday,
Ring pick Saturday, right?
I mean, I would say, big go with Saturday, make the ad as somebody, I guess you said earlier, make it a recommendation, or our recommendations
That's right.
Saturday.
And the only other thing I wanted to mention to y'all is just an update on COVID, because it's just been absolutely unbelievable what has happened in the last week with regards to our COVID numbers. Where we began at the end of July spiking up till about 10 days ago. We reached about, maybe 10 or 12 days ago, we reached a high of about 152 positive cases per day, and which is 3 times what our rate was last January at our former peak. It has been falling over the last 10 days faster than it has gone up, which is just a relief, certainly to our emergency services folks. Today we came in with 11 positive cases total, which was where we were prior to any of this happening. So we're just hoping that continues on, and if it does, things should be back to normal again. But all positive.
Does anybody, any other staff have anything? Clint, thank you for what you and your team have been doing for the county and the residents. Appreciate that. Eric?
At the retreat, you saw the draft solid waste management plan that has been finalized and published on the county website as of last week for a 30-day or so public comment period. And I just wanted to make that announcement to make sure the public was aware that the solid waste management plan in its final draft form was available for public review and comment. Instructions on the website how to make comments are included, and that is slated to be on your agenda in the latter half of October for a public hearing and a vote. So I just want to make you aware of that and announce it to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Just one thing, your monthly report for EOM, you have that with you for the month of August.
Mr. Loper, do you have anything?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Mr. Burnett?
We talked a little bit about redistricting, but then we got the email about how we are going to approach that from here out. We're going to lose a substantial amount, but everybody else is going to pick some up. Of course, how would we do that, like for districts that District 2 doesn't touch? So,
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's a matter of, potentially having a workshop on it. I think is the best way to do it, because you all would be able to work out, what neighborhoods make sense because it's, kind of like squeezing a balloon. You've got to make yours smaller so that, kind of makes everybody else's bigger. You make that one bigger, then even though District 3 doesn't touch yours, they're going to have to pick up some from the other districts as well. So I think probably the best way to start on that is with a workshop, just to get some ideas out there. We can also let you know what tools are available for you, so you can just kind of go online or give us an idea. We can have our GIS, kind of rebuild a border for you and say, hey, what happened if I took out this subdivision? Type of thing.
GIS has a list of.
Well, they have these census blocks.
What?
Census blocks.
Yeah, they have the census blocks, and we have it all integrated into GIS now, so we can, you just let us know what what sort of scenarios, if-then scenarios that you want to look at, and we can reconfigure a map and email it out to you.
I'd like to make a comment also back on the equipment thing. I think we're making a good decision, but we can compare to something else. See how it turns out? Is it really? We need to do this side by side, and are we getting the service of it? That's all I got.
Commissioner Fuller? Got anything? All right. I have the time at 5:46. We will take a break until 6 o'clock and reconvene for our planning board session. Thank you all for being here.
Yeah, we just got that. I'm like, oh, I forgot about it.
Alrighty, sir.
cadet corps, is all the way up Chimney, you know, it's an Air Force. And the entire wing, you have to work hard. It's a football team, ran out of steam, they were ahead.
I now know that area good. Okay.
It was funny, the only way to get it was on FS1 on Fox. And I don't have cable as FS1, but you buy the 60-minute free preview of FS1 on their website. And so Shelley and I huddled on the couch and watched 60 minutes on my phone, 60 minutes on my phone, 60 minutes on my work phone, and 60 minutes on my iPad. So, because it's the only way to watch the game. It was on CBS last week, but that was because of 9/11 and they were playing Navy. So it was the big Navy Air Force game, so it paid for prime time. But yeah, what year is he now? Multiple letters and be involved in student clubs, church groups, mission trips.
Next closest place is Calvin Charleston, so it's $40,000. He pays for it. I can't describe what that student loan. So yeah, we were talking about it. He said,
I don't know if he's looking just at Air Force, but, you know, everybody encouraged Riley to apply for all three of them. And of course, Coast Guard, you don't even have to have a congressional recommendation. I mean, all the Air Force, Navy, and West Point, you have to get congressional recommendation, which you will apply for summer, early fall next year. The deadline is about this time next year for him to get that letter. That's to get the congressional letter. And then once you get the congressional letter, your application deadline for the academy is going to be December, January. I think it was like the end of January was the deadline for all of our applications. But you start the application, and then it's like, okay, you're in progress. You need to check off box, and the boxes are getting a copy of your transcript, your letter, getting this. You got to go to the doctor, get a physical. You got to find somebody to give you a physical training fitness test. So she was in ROTC, so she got the ROTC commander to do it. There's all these different things you got to do, and you just turn them in as part of your application. And then once it's complete, you're in. You know, so you kind of like apply your pending. You know, you can start making your submittals, but you apply early and then make all your submittals until you get it done. But Riley did it all. I mean, I did very well. Early on, I was encouraging her and kind of helping her understand what she had to get done. And put her in contact with somebody from Lindsey Graham's office, where she got her letter. And after that, they talked her through the process. They said, okay, this is what you need to get the letter from Lindsay. This is what you got to fill out. Here's the application. Here's the deadline. And then they helped her understand what else is done. Once you start an application, they assign a liaison to you, some retired person or something who volunteers, and they'll kind of mentor him. They'll kind of mentor him through the application process. I mean, I did very little.
so good to hear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all part of it. They want the kids to do it on their own. They want them to apply on their own. I mean, the liaisons won't talk to the parents. It's just, you know, I'm the liaison for the kid, not you.
Which makes sense. I mean, that's what every school is now.
assigned liaison.
For all three?
Well, no, just for the Navy application. And she didn't get into Navy, but the Air Force guy was in Greenville, South Carolina, and he didn't want to come down. So she called the Navy guy and asked him if he would come to school. He goes, you got into an Air Force Academy, that's all I care about. Sure, I'll come. He should have. But he was as fit as could be, but he just looked like he was 110 years old. Full dress whites. So he made a big deal. He made a speech and everything. So she was tickled to death about it.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted on that.
All right.
We have to go to it because it's illegal.
Okay.
Thank you, Tim.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to have your attention. The time now is 6:02, and we're going to start our planning board session this evening. For those of you that have recently joined us, my name is Jamie Deloach. I'm County Commissioner for District 3. I will be the acting chairman this evening in place of Chairman Corbett and Vice Chair Roger Burdett. So let's get started. On Planning Board, item number 1, the Planning Board recommends approving an application by Scott Funderburg to rezone 2 out of 94.14 acres located at 4560 Blue Jay Road from AR1 to B2 to expand an existing mini storage facility, map number 326, parcel number 33 and 36 in the 1st District. Mr. Reese.
So this is an existing mini storage facility which underwent an expansion a year or so ago, and then this year the owner is requesting to rezone land so we can add to the existing facility and expand it again. The expansion area is listed up there on the top. It is impacting a cell tower lease area, but he has discussed this with the cell tower company, and everything is okay there. The rezoning is necessary for the mini storage in order to keep it consistent with the existing zoning. And as you see, the mini storage is currently zoned B3. The cell tower lease area is actually zoned B2, but in order to bring it all together so there's not split zoning, he's encompassing in the expansion some AR1, which is that surrounding green, and then a little bit of the darker blue, which is the B2, but it will be all B3 for the mini storage, which is appropriate zoning, and staff are recommending approval of this.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing, so we will give folks who are in favor of this project a chance to speak, and those that are against this project a chance to speak. So starting out, those that are in favor of this project, you can have a chance to add any comments you like.
I'm Scott Funderburg, obviously here to ask for the rezoning. Basically, she just covered it all.
Okay. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak for this project? Is there anyone here wishing to speak against this project? Seeing none, we will move on. Is there any questions or concerns? Okay, public hearing is now closed. Is there any questions, concerns from our board?
Pretty straightforward, I believe.
Okay, well, hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion we approve the rezoning alternative 1 with both planning board and staff recommendations.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Floyd, a second by Commissioner Kiefer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. So we will move on to the second reading. Planning Board item number 2, consideration to approve the second reading an application by Scott Thunderberg to rezone 2 out of 94.14 acres located at 4560 Blue Jay Road from AR1 to B2 to expand an existing mini storage facility, map number 326, parcel number 33 and 36 in the first district.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the second reading by Commissioner Floyd, a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Second reading carries. Motion is approved. Moving on to item number 3 for Planning Board. The Planning Board recommends approving an application by Scott Thunderberg for a variance located at 4560 Blue Jay Road to waive the required buffers between commercial and agricultural residential uses, map number 326, parcel number 36 and 33 in the first district.
So the original application was for a variance to waive all buffer requirements on the B2 property against the adjacent AR1 zone property, which is owned by the same family. And I think that was approved actually in the last expansion because there was support from the adjacent property owner who happens to be retail. You see the blue on the left. This time we did, given that the expansion is, fairly large and is in the sketch at least includes stormwater retention pond, staff did recommend denial of the elimination of the vegetative buffer around the expansion area. And during the planning board meeting, Mr. Thunderberg offered to come back with, instead of the 30-foot required, come back with 15-foot of a vegetative buffer around the expansion area. And the planning board accepted that and made a recommendation to approve, including that new buffer, that reduced buffer area.
Okay, thank you. This here is a public hearing as well. Got anything you want to add to that?
No, I think she covered it. We did want to do away with the 30 feet to begin with, but I'm okay if we can get 15 feet approved.
Okay. Anybody else wishing to speak for this? Seeing none, anyone speaking opposing this? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing this time. Are there any questions or concerns from the board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion we approve alternative 1 with that the expansion must maintain a 15-foot buffer.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Floyd, second by Commissioner Kiefer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 4, second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Scott Thunderberg for a variance located at 4560 Blue Jay Road to waive the required buffers between commercial and agricultural residential uses, map number 326, parcel number 36 and 33 in the first district.
Make the motion we approve the second reading.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Floyd, a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Second reading is approved. Moving on to item number 5. The Planning Board recommends approving an application by William Wilson as agent for Thomas Wilson to rezone 1 out of 25.24 acres located at 342 Otis Sechinger Road from AR1 to AR2 for the creation of a home site, map number 415, parcel number 32 in the 2nd District.
Mr. Wilson is proposing to split 1 acre out of this 25-acre tract on Otis Sechinger Road. And here's the plat that there will be an access easement from the road to the house. Staff are recommending approval.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Anyone here wishing to speak for this request? Seeing none, anyone here speaking against this request? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Are there any questions or concerns from the board? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion at this time.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Burdette, a second from Commissioner Floyd. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 6, Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by William Wilson as agent for Thomas Wilson to rezone 1 out of 25.24 acres located at 342 Otis Seconder Road from AR1 to AR2 for the creation of a home site, map number 415, parcel number 32 in the second district.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Burdette, a second by Commissioner Floyd. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Second reading carries. Moving on to item number 7. The planning board recommends approving an application by George D. Malone Jr. for a variance located at 101 Teal Drive on the side setback to allow for an accessory structure from 10 feet to 6 feet, map number 408A, parcel number 1 in the 4th district.
So Mr. Malone wishes to place a carport on his driveway, and it's not that easy to see, but on that parcel that's highlighted there, his house is pushed over and the driveway is very close to the property line, the interior property line. And now he wants to place a carport on that. He has a total of 32 feet from his house to his side property line, and he wants to place a 20-foot wide carport, so that gives him 6 foot either side to set it away from the house and away from the property line. So he's looking for a reduction in the required setback from the house and from the property line from 10 foot down to 6 foot either way, and he'll just center the carport there over his driveway. Staff are recommending approval.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak for this proposal? Seeing none, is there anyone here speaking against this request? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Is there any questions or concerns from the board? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve order number 1.
Second.
Got a motion from Commissioner Loper, second from Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 8. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by George D. Malone Jr. for a variance located at 101 Teal Drive on the side setback to allow for an accessory structure from 10 feet to 6 feet, map number 408A, parcel number 1 in the 4th district.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Got a motion by Commissioner Loper, a second by Commissioner Kiefer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Second reading carries. Moving on to item number 9 on planning board agenda. The planning board recommends approving an application by Jeffrey Wallace and Laurel T. Hagan Sr. for a conditional use located at 3131 Rincon-Stillwell Road to allow for a cemetery for family use, map number 463, parcel number 45 in the 5th district.
So the Hagens wish to place a family cemetery on their property to accommodate future family burials. The original site plan that they provided showed the approximate location, which is sort of the same as what's on this plat. When they brought this plat into us for to add to the file a week or so ago, we noticed that the proposed cemetery wasn't separated from the property boundary by 10 feet, which it's supposed to be. So they've had the surveyor redraw that, and they were either going to be here tonight or come tomorrow morning with the new plat, and that's the one we would sign if you were to approve this, because those are the basic conditions we include, or that fencing must be 4 foot high, and that the cemetery boundary must be at least 10 foot from the road right of way and neighboring parcels. So it's a standard set of conditions that we always include according to the ordinance, and staff are recommending approval of this conditional use.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here speaking for the request? Seeing none, anyone speaking against this request? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing at this time. Are there any questions or concerns from the board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative number 1.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Kiefer. Got a second by Commissioner Floyd. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 10. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Jeffrey Wallace and Laurel T. Hagan Sr. for a conditional use located at 3131 Rincon-Stillwell Road to allow for a cemetery for family use, map number 463, parcel number 45 in the 5th district.
Make the motion to approve, second reading.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Kiefer, got a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Second reading carries. Moving on to item number 11, the Planning Board recommends approving an application by Bo Langham as agent for Laurel Mill Inc. for a conditional use located on Old Augusta Road to allow for a mobile office with commercial parking and laydown yard for dump trucks and semi-trucks, map number 475, parcel number 58B, zone B3 in the 5th district.
So this property is zone B3. It's adjacent to the Grandview property, which is going, proposed to be used for industrial use. So the B3, we would expect that it would be more intensive use, but the proposed use isn't something that's explicitly in the permitted uses for B3. So sort of out of abundance of caution, we ask that the applicant come before the board to ask for conditional use to be certain that, we're all on the same page here. And we did meet with him and discuss the proposed use, and he provided this approximate site plan. He is here tonight to answer any questions, but it's going to be a laydown yard and dump truck parking area. Initially a mobile office, perhaps a building in the future. They'll use an existing access road and do a paved entrance with gravel for the laydown yard. So as I said, he did meet with staff, including the county engineer, so we're aware of what the plans are. We'll be working with them on the sketch plan and site plan. Staff are recommending approval.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak for this request? Please state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Bo Langham, and I'm the agent for this application. Ms. Teresa has explained it as I would. I'm just here for approval and questions if there are any.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else here wishing to speak for this request? Seeing none, is there anyone here speaking against this request? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Do we have any questions or concerns, Mr. Langham or staff?
I would think a laydown yard is pretty much the same thing as a freight terminal. I don't know what the difference would be. Parking trucks, parking trailers, it's the same central use really. So I think we have that provision for B3 already.
Make this one. We'll finish it now. Make a motion.
No, it's the same thing, though.
Right. I make a motion, alternative one to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Kiefer to approve the motion, and got a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item 12, second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Bo Langham as agent for Laurel Mill Inc. for a conditional use located on Old Augusta Road to allow for a mobile office with commercial parking and laydown yard for dump trucks and semi-trucks, map number 475, parcel number 58B, zone B3 in the 5th district.
Make a motion to approve, second reading.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Kiefer, have a second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 13. The Planning Board recommends approving an application by Robert McCorkle III as agent for Thomas Lee Exley Jr. to rezone 102.75 acres located on Old Augusta Road from AR1 to I1 heavy industrial to allow for the development of industrial warehouses, map number 478, parcel number 1 in the 5th district.
So this land is currently zoned AR1 and is proposed to be part of an industrial park with the property to the west of it that will take it up, will make it adjacent to Old Augusta Road. Due to the scale of the proposed project, we submitted this for regional review as a development of regional impact, and that report was back in time to keep it on the planning board agenda for the last month. And it was generally a favorable report. The DRI reports tend not to make recommendations, just sort of summarize the regional plan recommendations and local plan recommendations, so that there were no red flags there at all. Staff has reviewed this, and we have met with the applicants, and you'll be seeing more in subsequent cases on this. and a sketch plan next month. So we do have a lot of information on what's proposed. In fact, I can show, this is actually the layout that's proposed, but the next few cases are going to be variance requests. But the rezoning we're already going to do.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the request?
Yes, thank you. My name is Robert McCorkle here on behalf of petitioner. We have several items on here, and I'm going to be very brief, but I did want to at least hand you this, which I think will add some context. That one last time. I'm gonna hand you a few of these. Sure. As Teresa mentioned, this is a rezoning of 102 acres that we refer to as the Exley Tract. The purpose of the rezoning is to combine it with what we will call the McCormick Tract up there to the west on the picture that's in front of you for an industrial park which will house almost 2 million square feet of industrial warehouse space. The sketch plan for the project has been submitted. It's going to be on the planning board agenda on the 27th of September. The DRI has been submitted, is in process, as was also mentioned. The project itself is consistent with the county's industrial warehousing plans for this corridor along Old Augusta Road, which, as you know, is a county truck road. The project shouldn't have any adverse effects on the truck traffic or anything else on Old Augusta Road. Also, as the property is currently zoned, the piece in front of it, the McCormick Tract, we're not here to rezone tonight. It's already industrial. The Estes facility up there in the front, also already industrial. So at this point, the tract that we are talking about tonight is accessed through industrial property to get to it, which is currently zoned essentially residential agricultural. So as it currently sits, it's wedged in between industrial land, which will be warehouses, and wetlands, essentially rendering it not really having a valid use except for as an industrial site. We don't believe that the site's going to adversely affect any surrounding properties. It's primarily surrounded by wetlands, and then also surrounded by a piece of property that is going through rezoning to be industrial adjacent to it. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you all have on the zoning piece, but we support both staff's and the unanimous Planning Commission recommendation for approval.
Thank you, Mr. McCord. Seems like you definitely have your ducks in a row here with this presentation. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of this development? Anyone speaking to oppose the project? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Is there any questions or concerns from the board? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion to approve alternative number 1.
Second. Got a motion by Commissioner Kiefer, second by Commissioner Floyd. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item number 14, the second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Robert McCorkle III as agent for Thomas Lee Exley Jr. to rezone 102.75 acres located on Old Augusta Road, AR1 to I1, heavy industrial to allow for the development of industrial warehouses, map number 478, parcel number 1 in the 5th district.
Make a motion to approve second reading.
Got a motion by Commissioner Kiefer, second by Commissioner Burdette to approve the second reading. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 15. The Planning Board recommends approving an application by Robert McCorkle. It says second here, but I'm assuming it's saying Robert McCorkle III as agent for Robert Exley and Emily Badham Wood McCormick for a variance located on Old Augusta Road to eliminate the required 25-foot buffers between I-1 heavy industrial zone parcels, map number 477, parcel number 1 in the 5th district.
Yes, so as Mr. McCorkle mentioned, the property to the west of the one you just considered that borders on Old Augusta Road is currently zoned industrial, as is the Estes development, which is that little inset. So what they're requesting here is an elimination of the 25-foot buffer required between industrial parcels, where I've got the heavy block lines in between the two parcels, which are going to be joined together, and then to the south, because coming up a few items down the agenda, there will be very similar requests from those applicants. So while they're all developing their industrial parks separately, they're doing it sort of cooperatively and at least to the point where, agreeing on elimination of buffers is something that they're both agreeable to. So in this case, the applicant for the property to the south is here too. But at the planning board, they were all agreeable that the elimination of the internal buffers between industrial parcels was what they were proposing. We have several of these, and you'll see. So I've highlighted the ones we're talking about right now for parcel 4771 with those black lines. So it's Old Augusta Road and then that parcel. So it's on the bottom to the south and then the interior line. And staff recommend approval.
Okay, thank you. This here is a public hearing as well. If there's anyone that would like to speak for this,
Again, Robert McCorville for the petitioner. Thank you. If y'all don't mind, I'm going to, again, very briefly just talk about all the internal buffer requests separate from the 300 feet, which is a little bit on the back, which is a little bit of a different animal. I think that's kind of how we handle it in planning commission, just to make it easier. So if y'all are looking at this map, the picture that's up on the screen, which I think is helpful, the red areas are the buffers essentially. And so what we're asking between these 2 or 3 internal buffer variances is to have we're going to leave the 25-foot buffer on Old Augusta Road, which you'll see the red line up there. We're going to leave the 25-foot buffer as it runs along the Estes track, which is not part of our project, but is immediately adjacent to us. We will leave the 300-foot buffer intact along Mr. Porter's property in that little space up there where you can see the red. There's a little bit of wetlands in there, but we've addressed that with the Planning Commission and with staff. So the 300 feet will remain there. What we're asking to remove is where those black bars are. And the main one to look at is really the one along the adjacent piece of property to the south. We're trying to leave as much freedom as we can for site planning because we don't exactly know how it's going to go. But most importantly, we're trying to minimize wetland impacts. And this road, which has to go through our site to access the rear parcel, the best place to put it with the least amount of wetlands impacts is along that property line. In order to do that, we have to remove the buffer. As was mentioned, our neighbors don't have any issue with this. It's going to be an industrial park as well. And then otherwise, the statement of internal buffer removal is just so that this is going to end up being subdivided. There will be probably multiple owners in the future that own these parcels with the buildings on them. They all know what they're getting into, buying into a warehousing park. And so we're just trying to avoid having to have unnecessary buffers since it's going to be a design park that will likely have covenants and other things like that. So that's the gist of the description about all these internal buffer requests. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
thank you for that information, Mr. McCorville. Is anyone else here that would like to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone here that would like to speak against? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Is there any questions, concerns, or discussion from the board on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Kiefer, have a second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item number 16, second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Robert McCorville III as agent for Robert Exley and Emily Badham Wood McCormick for a variance located on Old Augusta Road to eliminate required 25-foot buffers between I-1 heavy industrial zone parcels, map number 477, parcel number 1 in the 5th district.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Kiefer to approve the second reading. Have a second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Second reading carries. Moving on to item number 17. The Planning Board recommends approving an application by Robert McCorville III as agent for Thomas L. Exley Jr. for a variance located on Old Augusta Road to eliminate the required buffers between I-1 heavy industrial zone parcels, map number 478, parcel number 1 in the 5th district.
All right, we've moved over to the east here, and we're back to the Exley portion of the tract, and it's the same request. It's the north-south line between the two parcels. They're asking for elimination of required buffers there. And then along the southern boundary of that tract, the property to the south is one of the next items on your agenda where they're requesting rezoning to industrial. So assuming that is approved, then the buffers between those two tracts would be eliminated.
Okay. This is a public hearing. If anyone wants to speak on this, you can approach the podium. Seeing none, is there anyone opposing this request? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Is there any questions or concerns from the board? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion at this time.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Kiefer, second from Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 18, second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Robert McCorkle III as agent for Thomas L. Exley Jr. for a variance located on Old Augusta Road to eliminate the required buffers between I-1 heavy industrial zone parcels, map number 478, parcel number 1 in the 5th district.
Make a motion to approve second reading.
Second.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Kiefer, second from Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 19. The Planning Board recommends approving an application by Robert McCorkle III as agent for Thomas L. Exley Jr. for a variance located on Old Augusta Road to eliminate the required 300-foot buffers between the I-1 heavy industrial and adjacent AR1 zoning districts, map number 478, parcel number 1 in the 5th district.
This is the same tract that you just considered the buffer elimination for and that you just approved rezoning for. So this one now is industrial, and there are no buffers between it and any adjacent industrial properties. And this request is to eliminate the buffers between it, industrial, and the adjacent AR1 zone property, which in the handout Mr. McCorkle gave you, you'll see that it is extensive wetlands leading up to the Savannah River. So when this parcel was portioned out, they didn't build in a buffer, which you'll actually see in later that the owners did build in a buffer. This one has no built-in buffer, and so the 300-foot required buffer would somewhat limit the proposed warehouse that you see up there. The red areas point to the tract, and there's a thin red line that shows what the 300 buffer would look like if it were in place. Staff recommended denial of this buffer elimination, and but we did offer some options for the planning board to consider if they were to recommend approval, and they did take that route. They recommend approval with the two conditions that the staff have recommended, and those are to pipe the roof drains into ponds and prevent sheet flow from the roof and parking area from going into the buffer, what would have been a buffer area, and then maintain water quality volume in the pond that must be released by infiltration, evapotranspiration, or reuse for irrigation, gray water in bathrooms, wash water in truck bays, etc., with approval of the county engineer. So as I said, the planning board did recommend approval with those conditions added.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak for this?
Robert McCorkle for the petitioner. Thank you again. You'll bear with me for a few more minutes. I want to talk a minute about this one. It's a little different than the others, and maybe a little different than some of the other things the other petitioners may be asking for on similar projects, because we are adjacent to AR1, which some others are adjacent to AR1, which is residential, and we're adjacent to AR1, which is state-owned wetlands. As I mentioned, the residential piece that is adjacent to us, Mr. Porter's piece, we are keeping the 300-foot buffer there. I want to be clear about that. We are only talking about the piece around the wetlands. Two things about our property that I think make it a unique physical condition that would apply here. One is it's surrounded by wetlands owned by the state of Georgia that are never going to be developed. We're in a very unique situation because of how our property sits, that generally the purpose of a buffer is to create visual screening to separate out uses. We don't have any uses in the area that we're asking to remove this. There will never be any uses there. And so the screening isn't really necessary. The other thing about this piece of property that's unique is its shape. As you can see on 4781 up there, which is the piece we're talking about, it's not a square or a rectangle or something you would normally see necessarily on a development site. It is very oddly shaped with a point on the north side up there. If we had 300-foot buffers, particularly on that north end up there, as there was shown earlier, it cuts off a large part of our property. We would lose something like 15 acres of our site. And part of the reason to put the largest building here is, again, to minimize wetland impacts. As you can see, the wetlands that you see on the front piece, the McCormick track, there's fair amount of wetlands on the front piece. There are not a lot on this track, and so it's a good place to put the big building. And putting it here requires us to remove these buffers. But as I mentioned, it's all wetlands. It's owned by the state. It's never going to be developed or anybody's houses or any businesses, and so there is nobody truly to be harmed. I do want to point you, if you will look at item E in the handout I gave you, you will see that all of that property is in fact wet. And if you flip over to F, I think F is a good picture because it's important to note that we actually still have essentially a 300-foot wooded buffer. It's just is on the other side of the property line. If you look at item F, you'll see that on the other side of the property line, on the piece of property that's owned by the state, DNR, it is very heavily wooded and it's upland. There's a large bluff that comes off of that upland on the back side back there. So even if we are clearing for the purposes of putting this building, this parking in the area that we're putting, you're still going to have over 300 feet of buffer of trees that exist almost only along the entire property line over there. As mentioned by staff, there was concern about stormwater runoff. I think it's important to note we have to meet all the requirements of stormwater runoff. We cannot put stormwater into the state's wetlands. And so we are going to detain, we are going to do all these things to prevent us from discharging anything over there and meet the Effingham County Stormwater Ordinance. Obviously, everything will be captured and contained. We did have unanimous Planning Commission recommendation for approval. We do have conditions that they placed on there. I did want to make this one comment about the first condition because it was just, we mentioned it at Planning Commission, it was a little bit confusing. It says in there that the roof is to drain directly into or be piped directly into the ponds. This is a little bit unusual. Typically, we would not pipe directly into a pond. We would have our stormwater that would come off would run into ditches and inlets into the ponds rather than actually be piped from the roof. Obviously, there will be drains and other things in the parking lot that will run that water to the pond once it comes off the roof. So we did request there that we not specifically have a requirement that we pipe from the roof directly to the ponds, but rather that we meet all the requirements of the Effingham Stormwater Ordinance in what we're doing. So I will kind of re-express that to you today for those reasons, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you for the information. Anyone else here wishing to speak for this project? Seeing none, anyone here wishing to speak against this project? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any questions, concerns, discussions from the board?
Who come up with the idea with the pipe? Is that our engineer or is it the planning board?
Yeah, it's county engineer.
Eric, could you address that, please? Sorry.
No, I was going to ask this.
Hello, Eric Larson, acting as your county engineer in this question. I don't have any problem with Mr. McCorkle's interpretation of this. It was really not intended, it's just poorly written. It wasn't intended that we pipe directly to the pond. The intent is the latter half of that sentence, and as to prevent the runoff from the roof from going into the adjacent property without going through stormwater treatment, which is the pond. So ditch, grass swale, sheet flow, across the parking lot into the pond, as long as the runoff from impervious areas is directed into the stormwater management facility, in this case the pond, and treated before it's released. That's the intent. But I'm comfortable with his interpretation, and for the record, you know, it does not have to be direct piped to the pond.
Now, if it flows on to the neighboring property, that'd be a violation anyway, right?
Yes.
It's a little bit redundant.
Well, quite honestly, these conditions are, as Mr. McCorkle stated, these are stating the obvious. It's already required in our code. It was provided for clarity. One thing that wasn't mentioned is that these buffers also, if you read our code, these buffers are supposed to be a stormwater treatment device of their own to allow for sheet flow and infiltration in the undisturbed area before it leaves the property. Without a buffer, we don't have that. So that was the emphasis on the sentence to begin with, is that if we're not going to have a buffer to provide infiltration and treatment, then we need to direct everything into our engineered, manufactured stormwater devices before it's released. That's really the intent, and I have no problem,
Are you fine with it possibly saying just directing all roof runoff?
Yeah, roof parking lot runoff needs to be directed towards the stormwater ponds before it's released into the adjacent property and wetlands. And I'm fine with that. It's just that piping probably just wasn't the right word. A roof drain is a pipe, and so it was me not well wording that. So.
Thank you for that vote. Any other questions, concerns?
I don't have any more.
All right, here none, I'll entertain a motion.
I would, I make a motion to approve with the correction to stipulation number 1, would that be considered a stipulation? That all, I can't remember how we're gonna word this.
Just change the first word to direct instead of pipe.
Okay, direct all roof drains into the pond and prevent any sheet flow from the roof and parking area from going into the buffer areas. And also keeping, obviously, number 2, and I make a motion to approve that motion.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Kiefer, have a second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. The motion carries. Since there was a change in stipulation, we're fine?
You're fine.
Okay.
You didn't change it.
All right, moving on to item number 20, second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Robert McCorkle III as agent for Thomas L. Exley Jr. for a variance located on Old Augusta Road to eliminate the required 300-foot buffers between the I-1 heavy industrial and adjacent AR1 zoning districts, map number 478, parcel number 1 in the 5th district.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Kiefer to approve the second reading. I have a second by Roger Burdette, or Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. The second reading carries. Moving on to item number 21. The Planning Board recommends approving an application by Chad Zitrauer as agent for Helen Dasher Estate to rezone 405 acres located on Old Augusta Road from AR1 to I1 to allow for the development of industrial warehouses, map number 486, parcel number 2 in the 5th district.
All right, this is directly south of the parcel we were just talking about, and this is going to be combined with the parcel to the west there, next to Old Augusta Road, to be another industrial park. And because we were given the sketch plan and did know the proposed square footage of warehouses to be placed there, this did trigger a regional review, so all information was submitted to the regional commission. The report has been returned to us, it made it to the planning commission on time. They were able to vote, now it's in front of you all, and it's very similar to what we heard before. The zoning, this is the proposed site plan, sketch plan, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, there are some variants requested here, but this is the scale we're talking about, so the 2 parcels will be joined and potentially subdivided later for, as warehouses are built. So this is the proposed scale of the development. And actually, just to go back, this one, when it was subdivided, at whatever point, they kind of left the buffer there, so there's no buffer request to the adjacent wetlands area because it's part of the tract. They have a built-in buffer there, that's one buffer request we're not going to be hearing tonight. But this is a request to rezone this parcel to industrial so that it can be combined with the parcel to the west and then will be developed as an industrial park. Staff are recommending approval.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. I will open it up now for anyone that is speaking in favor of this request.
Yes, good evening. Chad Zittrow with Current Company here representing the Dasher Estate in this particular application. This property is approximately 405 acres, which is what's included in the zoning application. It should be noted approximately 200 of that to the east is a wetland area that will be preserved, so we'll be developing that entire tract. In addition to that, directly to the south of this particular property is Chatham County City of Whitworth's jurisdiction. So that's outside of Effingham County, which we'll address in one of the items further now. Our access is through the Kicklighter tract, which is to the west, which already has industrial zoning on it. Other than that, I'll be glad to answer any questions you have on 21.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this proposal? Seeing none, anyone that opposes this proposal? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Are there any questions, concerns, or discussion for the board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Third.
Got a motion by Commissioner Kiefer, second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 22, the second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Chad Zittrow as agent for Ellen Dasher Estate to rezone 405 acres located on Old Augusta Road from AR1 to I1 to allow for the development of industrial warehouses, map number 486, parcel number 2 in the 5th district.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Third.
Got a motion by Commissioner Kiefer, a second by Commissioner Loper to approve the second reading. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. The second reading carries. Item number 23. The Planning Board recommends approving an application by Chad Zittrow as agent for Ellen Dasher Estate for a variance located on Old Augusta Road to eliminate the required 25-foot buffer between I-1 heavy industrial zone parcels, map number 486, parcel number 2 in the 5th district.
So very similar to what we just discussed for the property to the north, this request is to eliminate buffers between this parcel and the parcel to the north, which you just approved, which would be rezoned to industrial, and this parcel and the parcel to the west, which is already partly industrial. It's a little complicated. Going back to 2006, the Kicklighter tract there, I mean, it's industrial, but it's split, so we'll be dealing with that next month. We'll be cleaning that one out. This was discovered, or during the review before the planning board, we discovered that it hadn't ever been brought back to full industrial, and so it's shown on GIS as gray for split, but it is mostly industrial. But in 2006, the portion along Old Augusta was rezoned for commercial use, and that was just never undone. And the parcel to the north, the McCormick tract actually did come back a few years ago and make it fully industrial. And now the Kicklighter tract will be on your agenda next month to do the same thing, to just clean that up. So as I said, what we're looking at tonight though is, or right now, is the elimination of the buffer between industrial parcels to the north of this and to the west of this. Just those two areas.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak for this request?
Just to clarify, Teresa did a good job explaining this. This is the boundaries adjacent that are industrial, and the same thing as the application you previously on the property to the north that you just voted on.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak for this request? Seeing none, anyone opposing this request? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Is there any questions or concerns from the board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Kiefer, a second from Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item number 24, second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Chad Zipprower as agent for Helen Dasher Estate for a variance located on Old Augusta Road to eliminate the required 25-foot buffer between I-1 heavy industrial zone parcels, map number 486, parcel number 2 in the 5th district.
Make a motion to approve second reading.
Second.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Kiefer, a second from Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Second reading is approved. Moving on to item number 25. The Planning Board recommends approving an application by Chad Zipprower as agent for the Helen Dasher Estate for a variance located on Old Augusta Road to reduce required buffers from 300 feet to 100 feet between differently zoned parcels, map number 486, parcel number 2 in the 5th district.
So we're on the same parcel, and as Mr. Zipper said, the property to the south is in Chatham County. It's in the city of Port Wentworth. We did reach out to the city of Port Wentworth, both the planning department and the city manager's office, and requested that if they had any comments to let us know. They have not responded to that, so we're taking that as they have no problem with this. In any case, our zoning, our buffer requirements are 300 feet in industrial to any adjacent residential property. And the property to the south in Chatham County in Port Wentworth this is what it looks like on their Q Public. It's a mixture of master planned, mixed use residential property. We did notify all of those property owners. I mean, as usual, we sent letters to everyone within 200 feet. We haven't had any feedback from any of the property owners either. So the request is to keep a buffer, but not the Effingham County 300-foot buffer, but rather to allow them to expand into that space and have just the 100-foot buffer, which is what Port Wentworth's ordinances actually require for this similar kind of development. So based on that argument, and because it would, promote efficiency in the site planning for this industrial park, staff are recommending approval of this reduction of the buffer.
Okay, thank you for that info. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone wishing to speak for this request, you may do so at this time.
Yes, just to clarify, this is located in Port Wentworth, the property to the south. We are simply asking to comply with what their buffer requirements are. The property is currently vacant. It has not been developed, but there is a master plan, on file with Port Wentworth that shows it is residential development.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak for this request? Anyone wishing to speak against this request? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing this time. Is there any questions or concerns from the board?
I'm comfortable with being good neighbors where we're at, so make a motion for the alternative one.
Okay.
Got a motion from Commissioner Kiefer to approve the request. I have a second from Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 26, the second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Chad Zipprower as agent for the Helen Dasher Estate for a variance located on Old Augusta Road to reduce required buffers from 300 feet to 100 feet between differently zoned parcels, map number 486, parcel number 2 in the 5th district.
Make a motion to approve second reading.
Second.
Got a motion from Commissioner Kiefer to approve the second reading. I have a second by Commissioner Burdette. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Second reading is approved. Moving on to item number 27. The Planning Board recommends approving an application by Chad Zipprower as agent for Claude M. and Elizabeth E. Kicklighter for a variance located on Old Augusta Road to eliminate the required 25-foot buffers between I-1 heavy industrial zone parcels, map number 478, parcel number 2, zone I-1 and B3 in the 5th district.
So we're back to the industrial buffers here, and so the request is to eliminate the 25-foot buffer on the north boundary of the property and on the east boundary of the property, because it will be eventually combined with the property to the east. So it's where those black lines are, is requesting elimination of the buffer. Staff will recommend approval.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. If there's anybody that wishes to speak for the request, you may do so at this time.
This is just the same as the request on item 23. It's just relevant to the kick glider parcel on the frontage as opposed to the dasher staying in the rear.
Anyone else speaking or would like to speak for the request? Seeing none, anyone wanting to speak against the request? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing at this time. I will open it up for questions or concerns from the board. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Kiefer to approve, a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item number 28, second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Chad Zipprower as agent for Claude M. and Elizabeth E. Kicklighter for a variance located on Old Augusta Road to eliminate the required 25-foot buffers between I-1 heavy industrial zone parcels, map number 478, parcel number 2, zone I-1 and B3 in the 5th district.
Make a motion to approve, second reading.
Second.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Kiefer to approve the second reading. Have a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. The second reading is approved. Moving on to item number 29. The planning board recommends approving an application by Chad Zipprower as agent for Claude M. and Elizabeth E. Kicklighter for a variance located on Old Augusta Road to reduce the required buffers from 300 feet to 100 feet between differently zoned parcels, map number 478, parcel number 2, zone I-1 and B3 in the 5th district.
This is very similar to what we just approved for the parcel to the east. This is only concerning where the black lines are, where the property, where this parcel touches the property in Port Wentworth. I just want to point out that that's Jasper Village there, just by the Old Augusta Road, and that the 300-foot buffer between industrial uses and that residential use has been maintained, and in fact, due to wetlands in the area, there's portions where it's much greater than that. So that is not in any way affected by this request. It is only the property to the south, the southern property boundary that we're talking about. And staff recommending approval.
So there's still 300 feet between this and Jasper Village?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that vote. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone wishing to speak in favor of this request, you may do so at this time. All right, seeing none, if there is anyone wishing to speak against this request, you may do so at this time. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And at this time, I'll open it up for questions or concerns from the board. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Kiefer and a second from Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to our last item, item number 30, the second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading, an application by Chad Zipprower as agent for Claude M. and Elizabeth E. Kicklighter for a variance located on Old Augusta Road to reduce the required buffers from 300 feet to 100 feet between differently zoned parcels, map number 478, parcel number 2, zone I-1 and B3 in the 5th district.
Make a motion to approve, second reading.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Kiefer to approve the second reading. I have a second by Commissioner Loper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. The second reading carries.
Thank you.
This concludes the items of our zoning portion of our meeting this evening. Is there a need for executive session this evening?
No.
Okay, there's no executive session minutes that we need to approve? Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Loper made a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Burdette seconded that. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And we are adjourned.